So I'm just going to go through an exercise just to show a little bit more in the context of usable knowledge on the chakra system. Just because I think this is really important, because it's how to understand not just what you see in the world around you, but how to understand the feelings that you have inside before you start to project into the third dimension. And so how we're going to do this, we're going to go on, we start with modernity, so how it would appear to me that people's perception of the environment around them is currently configured, so that the average person that they see or encounter, or how they act, is now interpreted as just the norm. And then after, we're going to go and have a look at and put a list down of what the words that we've chosen for a modern person, how to rank on here, and we'll put some others down. So then we've got blocked, balanced, and overactive. So if we start at the root chakra, I'm just going to pick a few choices. I'm going to try and keep it down to 3, but it might not be that easy, just so it's easy for the information to get across. So what we're looking for here then is traits that we see that are quite common, or patterns of traits in ourselves, or what you see around you, what's prevalent. And I've got some choice words here that I've already got, so we're going to start with anxious, financial instability, materialistic, oh, and by the way, please, if you have the time, just write this down so you've got a little bit of a reference to work from, instead of having to go through the video many times or trying to hold it into your head and then it ends up getting a bit blurred. And it's hard to do because I really don't like taking notes, but I do say it does actually help. And I'll just pick clinical. And for the root chakra, for the sacral chakra, we'll put fear of intimacy, optimistic, fixated on sex, and manipulative. That's it. And then for the solar chakra, power hungry, perfectionist, in control, personal drive, inferiority complex. By the way, shout out to Andre Van Staden for him to introducing me to that word back in the fourth year, I think, in Spanish. Nice. Self-sacrificing, jealous, trust issues, intolerant, we're going to the throat chakra, opinionated, opposite. Imaginative. Poor judgment. Can't see past the physical. Oops, I may have a bit floppy there. My apologies. I know this is getting a bit long, but it's good to try and do it all at once. Communicator. Creative. Misunderstood. Bad listener. Call this spiritual profanity? Why not? Spiritual profanity? Intuitive? Or judgment? Or imagination? Let's use that line. That's actually that line. Dogmatic. spiritual dogmatic now, sorry. But judgmental. Addiction. Intelligent. Weak faith. Learning difficulties. Thank you for sticking with that. And so now what we have here is a list of traits that I see in the world around me, in the majority. Now, just before I go on, say now, yes, this is the track that you go to activate the chakras. And when we say, when I say, I don't know about anyone else, but when I say to activate the chakras, I mean that's where one currently resides when you're in a majority of the average states. That's where I would say your chakra resides. Now, when activating a chakra, it just means from where you are at that point, what you need to do is to get to the next step. Because I know sometimes it can feel like when someone says that, oh, you're in a certain chakra state. I don't believe that's fixed. Like, for instance, you don't wake. Well, it all depends on the environment that a person is in, because just for instance, if the majority of the feelings that you're feeling all the way through the day is anxious, you are clearly anchored to your root chakra more than the any of others, because this is a feeling that you can't actually get rid of. So if this feeling is in you most of the day, yes, you will exhibit other chakras, but this is the prevalent feeling. So that's how you can say, okay, then right now I feel like this most of the time, so maybe this is where I'm residing. Sometimes I get a respite by the balance going up to a different chakra. But when that external entity puppy, for instance, is gone, the returning feeling is anxious. Now, this is a word that in recent years it's come up a lot. I mean, you never heard that when I was a child. It was always wrapped up as something else. But now it seems to be that this word anxious is now what is most prevalent in people's psyche, in people's being. And it's weird because I can't remember which there was a philosopher. I don't know. Let's call it Rousseau. Seems about right. Who wrote that anxious was the dizzying heights. It was what's the quotable now? Anxiousness is the knowledge that you can do absolutely anything in this world, but you don't have the drive nor the inclination to make that happen. I always find that was quite good because I like that. But and then this is how the environment chains them together. So you never had anxiousness before until you came across financial instability. And to make sure that you're on top of your financial instability, you have to get clinical. But the financial instability that you have and the clinical way in which you have to go into your life makes you very, very anxious, because the first point of financial instability is because you actually notice that you don't have enough money to do all the things that you want. But then when you look at your life, you're like, okay then, how can I save some? How can I save some to maybe alleviate this cycle? And then you realise that you are quite materialistic. The newest trainers have to be bought. I need a new dress to go out. I've worn that. People have seen me out in that three times already. And then you just get stuck in this beautiful mess. We've all been there. Yeah. But you see how the system works. It's not A causes B causes C. It's more like the ABCs of it just all happen at once. But the mind can't grasp that, because the mind always has to have something to attach its feelings to. So it even gets more messed up. But that's how I see the current environment right now set up to keep people in their root chakra. And by the way, these down the side. So, if you ever see this hand symbol, it's basically, is it a mudara? No, that's the name of the thing. I can't remember. But there's a set of hand signals called. I've wrote them all down, and it's called Gala. And there's a set of hand signals which is when you're meditating to promote balance and health of that particular chakra as you rise through. These are the hand symbols you're supposed to use to focus the energy circulating within you. If you get into meditating, and you can actually see the light and make the light the light of dark do things, and then turn it into a tube. And if you can get to that point, one of the ways that you're supposed to be able to stabilise any sort of instability in what you're in the dark visuals that you're seeing is to go through these as you're doing it. And basically this, if you ever see anyone doing this, they're trying to elicit the root chakra energies in you, to try to get you to reside here while they are being observed and speaking. So if we go on to the sacral chakra, the sacral chakra, we see, I see a lot of very optimistic people, but then their optimism comes from their ability to be able to manipulate the environment around them to get to what they need. It's like it's very prevalent within organisations, and if not even friend circles as well. It's weird. It's like everyone almost knows how it's going off, but at the same token, it's just like we do. But then maybe that's what makes a friendship. I think it is, but it's not only what you see in people. The practices that you see in marketing by some companies, they will use this optimistic manipulation to almost get you to get on side with their product or get on side with what they're saying, and it's a bit politics, need I say any more? So that's the yellow chakra. And then we have fear of intimacy and fixated on sex, which is one of those two things that just kind of, for me personally, it comes hand in hand. Because fear of intimacy isn't only just based on sex, by the way. Fear of intimacy could be even just people who don't even like going around, being around other people too much, or even people who don't like other people watching them eat. That could be a fear of a sort of intimacy, you know. It's, someone's actually watching what you put in your mouth. I get that. And this is one that you see almost every day. It's something that it's unavoidable, the fixation on sex, but it's unavoidable because it is the main driving force for these people, for these companies to try and sell you absolutely anything. And you can tell that that the environment around you, or the dimension that we're in, there's a big pull to get a lot of people here because the standards of what is now acceptable to what was acceptable, it's not that it's sliding, it's just becoming more, well, I don't know, people use the word normalised, but I wouldn't say it's been normalised because, well, it's a really tricky one, because normalisation usually means that it's something that's put on you, whereas what's happening around us is more people want to be able to express whatever they want, how they want. And with that comes the marketing that enables less and less clothes to be shown, and the what's the word? The adultization of cartoons, and just, oh, even video games. Video games is a big one. You've seen those games. Yeah. Anyone who's seen an ad for a game while playing a game will have seen this. But you see, this is more an output of not the establishment, but what's the basis of making lots of money, basically, and companies will use these tactics to keep you in this chakra, because it's conducive to their product, or getting you to buy whatever their product is. And the hand symbol for you, so it's and it's just like two close palm hands in the other. And then we go to the orange chakra, but the yellow chakra, that's where the monks will wear the yellow robes reside, but I'll come to that when we go on the when we go to fully populate this list on the right hand side there. So then we're going to the orange chakra, the solar plexus chakra, and we have power hungry, perfectionist, in control, personal drive, inferiority complex. Now, if that isn't the worst boss you've ever had, I don't know what is. You know, you come across these power-hungry perfectionists who are not actually interested at all in doing any work whatsoever, and they always like to be in control. But all of that doesn't come for the betterment of the company. It comes from personal drive, which is probably stems in an inferiority complex because they never feel quite good enough, or they think everyone else is, or they think they're better, because they think. So then they overactivate it to make it show like they are better than everyone. There we go. But remember, what I'm talking about now is how the environment is trying to configure a person, and how a person is configured for any particular thing. That's why here I said the worst boss that you've ever come across. But yeah, and then we get to the heart chakra, which is self-sacrificing, jealous, trust issues, and intolerant. Did I say that about jealous? Trust issues. There was I said trust. Trust issues and intolerant. Now it's one of those little dynamics where one is informed that self-sacrificing is the thing to be if you want to get ahead in life. But then at some point, all that self-sacrificing and getting nothing back gives you trust issues, and then those trust issues then manifest as jealousy because you never really actually go out to get the thing that you want in the first place, because you've got this self-sacrificing in mentality. It makes you intolerant because you feel stuck. It feels like you cannot go anywhere. And it's really sad because it's the external factor that informs a person that self-sacrificing is the thing to be, that sets this little Mobius effect of the emotions off. It's like a little generator, a little sad generator. Bless. And then we have the throat chakra, which is opinionated, gossip, communicator, creative, misunderstood, bad listener. Now, this one's weird because I interpret this as how people interact with each other, because it's the throat chakra, it's speaking, it's neath. Not very good at these words, I'm sorry. But for a person to be like this and to understand that this is the way to be, there has to be an environmental impact that informs a person that gossip is okay, being opinionated is gossip is okay, and it's not being over opinionated. It's being a creative communicator, and anybody who doesn't understand is misunderstood, or they're just a bad listener, or it makes the person doing it a bad listener because they're not hearing they're not hearing the what's the word I'm looking for? The feedback that they're getting, they're seeing it as critical instead of information on how to build on what they already know. It's it's another one of those. There's no real inception point. It all kind of just comes together. I mean, my generation, we had a little thing called, and the archetypes were all there, and this was their main way of communicating. And yeah, so it's one of those things again. It just comes all at once. You see enough people being all these different ones on all the time, and it's lamented with this sort of communication. That's an environmental thing that gets into a person when to get to a chance to actually observe it, and it gets in because it's fun. Oh, it's funny. And for the third eye, we've got spiritual, dogmatic, intuitive, poor judgment, poor imagination. So, like, this is something that I see a lot within, I don't know, because I don't like to say it's a community, but it's just like, yeah, in the community, whatever. Because I'm one of those people, I search out there and I've got lots of different. I'm an old school guy, so I like to go on old school forums. So when I'm looking for knowledge, I like to go on old school forums because if you're looking for ancient knowledge, the earlier on it is, the closer to the knowledge you are. So I like to look as early as I can. I know it sounds weird. People will think that we know more now, but there's just more being tapped on. But I like to get it raw so that I can put it through my keygen, I guess, and then come out with how I believe certain events and how things should be put down. And this is just one of the things. And when I say spiritual dogmatic, because I didn't know what the plural for profane was. So, well, like when the profane rituals, like there's, it's interpretation of the knowledge and using it externally. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but these external tokens and gifts and things that we are doing are supposed to help our internal resonate to where we need it to be. It's something that I kind of came upon when because I'm still actually looking into mantra, and there is this bit is on the parts of the philosophy that talk about how the mind in your head is the easiest way to program the light that's in the mind, because because speaking is just the tones of vibration from what you're actually thinking in your head, the final output of the tones of vibrations that you're thinking in your head, with that little voice what kind of tees up everything that you're saying before you're saying it. It's just doing this. So if you can say it in your head, you're more saying it into the light, but it's very hard to do that because you've got all of this going on at the same time. And and I think at some point you've got to sometimes rein back some of that external things so you can actually see where you're at, because if the external things, when taken away, are still making some of this creep back up, then maybe it's time to go down a little bit and see if you misplaced, I don't know, an ankh in a box in your mind, and now it's a little bit off because it's all mind now. which then makes someone think that it's intuitive. Like, I am guilty for this myself. I do it right now. I'm all about the numbers, and I will break anything down into a number just so I can be just like, energy. But but you know, there's I know like heavy reliance on like the zodiac and the natal charts are really good. They're really good targets, but it's only if you've got self in alignment. But if you look at your zodiac and like, this is not me at all, you have to look at a really bad translation, or you're not quite meeting where the celestial mechanics are saying you should be. And sometimes the heavy reliance on this on a daily, and then you've got this one and you've got that one, and you look at the Mayan calendar, and then you just so much, and then you just like, I don't know where I am. You become intuitive, but then you start to use a bit poor judgment because this is already in a bit of a loop. And then you get caught in this, so you have a poor imagination of trying to think outside of this because this is so much to maintain. I mean, I've been there before. Kind of still now, every now and then. But it's only through an exhaustive amount of self reflection that you can get through it. Now yeah, it's making those choices. For me personally, it's making that choice between, do I just eat something vegan, or do I make something plant, or do I just make it all from plants like I should be? Because that little step down is so easy to make, but I've got certain rules and regulations with myself that said that if I do that, I know I'm making a sacrifice to the body, or making a sacrifice to how I said I wanted to be. So I also program in little pick-me-ups as well, because then the knowledge kicks in, and it's like, remember, this is the way you're doing it, blah 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 blah, and yeah. So there's also little coping mechanisms that you can do to try and loop yourself back up, because I say loop yourself back up, but it's more of a frequency. It's like going downs and ups, downs and ups. The higher frequency, that's a good one. So the higher frequency, it just means the more that you're flip-flopping all the way through these. The lower the frequency, you feel the blend between them a lot. It's a lot easier, and sometimes that is. I mean, that's the best way for me anyway. And that hand gesture is the psych, which is it that one? Yeah. Is this? I'm sure you've seen a few people do that before or something along the lines. Oh, that's also as well. And then we get to the crown chakra. And here we have dogmatic, judgmental, addiction, intelligent, weak faith, learning difficulties. See, the little bit that I see, what I see in certain circles is there's a very heavy essence on the dogmatic side of something that they believe in. And when you have a heavy relevance on the dogmatic side, the external side of it, the profane side of it, it really makes it a weak faith because you're not really getting the substance of what the text is saying. It's more just the face of what the text is saying. And because of that weak faith, there's a mask that's put up which makes a person judgmental. and yeah, that little tripod type is something that I do see a lot, and it kind of just and I hope now you start to see how you can be parts of all of these at the same time, because they're always on, they're always active. It's just the more that you're exhibiting at any one point is where you reside, for a better explanation. When you are, so think of all of these now as little lights, and when you're stuck in one, you're like this, and then when you're just flowing through them all and being real and achieving some sort of balance, you are like this, or like this, or you may just do big long waves. This big long waves is how I believe you start out if you are doing any sort of faith practice, and the whole point is to get it so far that you're just, it's like the Fibonacci and the 5 sequence, until you're trying to attain perfection, because perfection is how can you attain perfection in a flawed environment? It's actually quite Mobius effect again. But also, if the environment is holding back a person, it could create learning difficulties, because it's the environment that's informing the person of how the world is and how they should be. And as we see on the spiral, so if you are born in your root chakra, and the first step and the first half step is your crown chakra, and by that time you haven't been promoted enough, then you will get learning difficulties, and then come back down to the sacral chakra, and then that would then inform or build the basis for being manipulated by the environment, which is going to try and get you locked into this chakra at this point of life, and then as you move up to the third eye and get to this half step, depending on all the things that you have learned here, because this is the most important time of learning, you will then start that will be seen through a lens of depending on the situation, poor imagination or poor judgment, or even intuitiveness. And then that would come down and get you residing in your third chakra through the lens of this, built on the basis of this. See, you can go up in the chakras, but it doesn't always have to be positive, as people would put it, negative or positive. It's just you hit some of these, that's where the feelings reside. You go to the next step, and it's the number of positive, affirmative things personally to you that you can actually build on each one before you go to the next step. So you see it. So as you go through the half step, you see it through a lens of perceived positiveness instead of negativeness. Because I say perceived because you don't want to be going through this and then put them in the army and they're all love and light. You need to start them right back here and come down. So by the time they come to the heart track to activate, they are, well, it's not on there, but it's part of the wider list that I had down here was bitter, hateful, lack of empathy, and that, for seen through the lens of all of the others, you create a good soldier, or the Bodhisattva. And this is, so yes, I'll go, sorry, back down to the solar. Now in the solar, because when we're calculating how we see how it comes through different ways for today from the top. So we start with the learning difficulties, and we'll come down to orange. So now if you've seen, so you built your foundations, you've seen it through certain lenses, and now you've come to reside in your solar chakra, and that's where inferiority complexes can come in, which causes perfectionism or personal drive, or wants them to be in control all the time, because the lens of which they saw their previous knowledge from is shaky at best, which then leads back to how they first came through the chakra as children. We all come through as well, we're helpless, aren't we? So it's, there's a bit of fear, hopelessness in there, but then obviously you find attachment with the people around you, so then that builds up on that, and that's exactly how you, and then depending on the experiences, how you come out, like I said, see it through the lens, come round, see it through the lens, come round, see it through the lens, but by the time we get to here, it's back to personal again, it's back to how the person feels. And so what I should do is just put personal, environment, personal. So now it's been built up on who could have learning difficulties. It's brought up. It's got other balance. It got other base built up, and now they're building their next ascendant on perfectionism, being controlled, personal drive, inferiority complex, which could come through to the throat chakra, and that's through the lens of communicator or bad listener or gossip or opinionator, because if they can start to exhibit that's then cements the kind of facade that they are actually driving themselves upon, which then comes round, and then they reside, and they come round and reside in the heart. And sorry, I got that totally wrong. Yeah, sorry, no, they reside at the heart. And with that lens, they now have jealousy, trust issues, and may seem intolerant because, or may perceive other people as intolerant because nobody understands, not all of this as they perceive, but nobody's willing to understand that what they're doing is the way that they do it. Basically, they don't know how anything else it does be perceived as like they've got that these people can be horrible, or that there's just something not quite right about them. But it's not necessarily quite right about them. It's just that the information that they have built themselves up onto at this point is what informs how they feel when they're being heartfelt. Now I'm just going to end that here because I'm quite aware of how long it's been now, and I think I will do a second one and we'll go through the full list on the side, or I might just put it down on a list for you so you can download it. Thank you.